I don't hear that.
Hey everyone, welcome to Cannacast. I am Ida Pearlie, the host, and also the Deputy Director here at the MiCIA. And with us today is Robin Schneider, our Executive Director. Thank you for joining us. And Nick Agro from High Level Health. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Ida. Thank you, Robin, as well.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. So we are excited to have you back.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to be back.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And something that I wanted to highlight too was at the summer annual, you brought up your car.
Oh, I did bring up the high level
amazing.
hoopty is what we call that
The
in-house.
hoopty.
The 1970 Monte Carlo. It is a fun ride and always gets attention everywhere. It actually sits in front of our Tawas location most times of the year, but I take it out to events and drive it around. I drove it in the Dream Cruise, for instance, this year, and it got a lot of attention.
What's the Dream Cruise?
Oh, the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is the largest auto-centric cruise in the world, I believe. So you have people that come from all over the world to cruise cars on Woodward Avenue in Oakland County. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. It's a great event. You have families that set up pop-up tents and chairs along Woodward Avenue and sit for days at a time watching people do burnouts in their cars and burnouts in their cars.
Have you done any racing in that car?
I have not done any officially sanctioned racing in that vehicle, but I have been pulled over numerous times by law enforcement in that and my other vehicles. I have a propensity to drive faster than I should.
So
I'll leave it at that.
What kind of car is it exactly?
It is a 1970 Monte Carlo. It's the very first year that they manufactured the Monte Carlo. It's got a 350 in it, and it is. I love the lines on it. It is very Detroit. That's the reason that I purchased it, because to me it speaks of Michigan and Detroit and our roots in the auto manufacturing market. My father, as you know, worked for General Motors for many years, as did my brother. Everybody in my family has worked for the auto industry. So I think it's a shout out. If you look at our cover in MiCI magazine this month.
Right here.
Nick's car is the centerfold.
My car is the centerfold.
And I picked it out.
And Robin picked it out, and it is a great picture of my car.
Oh yeah.
And you.
And me.
So I just have one question. Can I drive the Monte Carlo?
Absolutely. I would offer for you to drive the Monte Carlo at any point. We can take the sunroof out and cruise the hoopty around. I love to drive that vehicle because it garners so much attention. But hearkening back to the MiCI.
Wait. Fun fact. I was recently hanging out with a friend of mine from high school who has his original Monte Carlo from when we were in high school.
Oh,
and
my
it's his
goodness.
baby. And I was like, can I drive your car? And he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, will you just take me for a ride in the Monte Carlo? And he was like, not today. It's going to rain.
Oh my goodness.
We haven't hung out since. We'll just... Thanks, Nick.
So the Monte is meant to be driven. The high level hoopty.
That's what I said.
You know, it
Not
is.
doing any good sitting in your driveway.
It is a showpiece, and everywhere where I park it, it garners a ton of attention. As you know, we'll be opening a location in Bay City soon, and know that I'll have it parked right in the parking lot there to be able to garner the attention. But looking back at it, you know, it's an old school car, and in the MiCI magazine this past month, we talked about the growing methods that we use being time tested, kind of old school growing methods, and I think that a lot of people in our industry push so far forward with technology that sometimes they lose sight of the basics and or the foundation of growing. At High Level Health, we've never forgot that foundation. In fact, we've built upon it, specifically when it comes to soil science and having living TLO or true living organics beds.
Right.
You know, our belief that the soil is really represented in the plant. has won us a tremendous amount of awards. I can see on here you're asking me for any updates from the last time that we met. I think that just this month, last month, I'm sorry.
Soil.
The soil.
So this is why you bring in the special soil.
Yeah, I mean,
this was a whole thing we talked about. You were bringing in truckloads
of soil from.
Secret sauce.
We believe it's our secret sauce, and I've got more data points to be able to add to that. I'm in a unique position of I'm on the board for the MiCIA, that I get to talk to a lot of people, and I have a tremendous amount of interaction with processors and growers from across the state. This year in Michigan, we had a tremendous amount of wet weather. With that being said, a lot of the outdoor harvest was compromised in terms of powdery mildew, botrytis, septoria, across the board. Now, what we do is on the front side's not cheap. The soil selection that we make and the amendments that we make are very expensive. I think the math that I did for our 2 acres is that we spent an additional $100,000 in our soil in comparison to our competitors. Wow. However, I will tell you that this year in our outdoor harvest, where everybody struggled with powdery mildew, botrytis, and septoria, we did not. We sprayed our plants the equivalent of 0 times during the entire season. We didn't have losses to powdery mildew. We did not have losses to botrytis. We had very little septoria in our fields, and I have to believe, although it's painfully expensive at times, I've done the math, and we probably netted an additional 5x on top of that investment that we made in that soil. So for me, it comes down to, I think there's a Chinese proverb that says something to the effect of buy quality and only cry once. I feel as if we bought quality and it showed in our final harvest. As you know, we collaborated last year on a large outdoor, and we harvested more than we did in the outdoor last year, and 99.9% of it is uncompromised and very, very high quality. And for that reason, I would advocate for spending the additional money on your soil. The second piece to that soil is at this point, all those individuals that purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars in soil that was compromised this past year, they'll be throwing that soil away and repurchasing soil at, I'm sure, a much higher rate than last year because of the supply chain issues that are affecting.
Why was the soil compromised?
That come down to a soil scientist, but my understanding was that the raw ingredients going into that soil this year was compromised because of COVID and the supply chain issues. A lot of our agricultural products, specifically when it comes to things like peats and such, they come out of Canada, knowing that the Canadian border has been shut down, and earthworm castings was another issue. So I think that some suppliers had to go look for new supply chains, and in that way, they made compromises in the quality of the ingredients going into their recipe. And I think that ultimately it harmed a lot of the outdoor farmers in Michigan, as opposed to the company that we used. What it did for us is it slowed down their ability to get product into our hands in a timely manner. So literally we were building our beds, planting, and row by row as trucks came in, we were filling the beds and planting. We got our crop in this year about 2.5 weeks later than we did last year, and probably 2.5 weeks later than we would want to.
I remember the panic.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But what I will tell you is we put out more weight per plant than we did last year, which is another feather in the cap of utilizing a high quality soil mixture. The soil that we use, every component that goes into that soil is pre-tested for heavy metals and other products, whether it be pesticides, fungicides. The company we use does a really, really great job at vetting it. We've had a long history with them. We've helped them develop different soil blends for our indoor live beds versus our outdoor live beds. And, that comes down to having a really, really great relationship with the people that are assisting your business and growing. I know that even though we had supply chain issues and had trouble getting the soil to us in the most timely of manners, they worked very, very hard with us to make sure that what they were putting into our hands wasn't compromised, wasn't of inferior quality. I don't feel as if every grower in Michigan had that opportunity, and I think you can see it in the harvest. My understanding from most of the extraction companies that I've worked with and growers that I've worked with is this year was not a great harvest. A majority of the biomass that has come down will go into distillates and not live products like live resin, live rosin, just because the quality of the biomass is such low quality this year in comparison to years past. But that's agriculture,
When it comes to your soil, you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. It was, it's painful on the front side to pay for it, but on the backside, I'm grateful that we made that hard decision to put the money into the soil, as painful as it may be. I know right now that we have very, very high quality biomass that can be used for multiple things, including hash rosin, which a majority of the outdoor growers this year cannot use for hash rosin because they've used fungicides.
I think we have
pesticides.
some friends that would be very excited to hear that. Are you gonna? I just have one question.
Yes.
Will you be like manufacturing like bricks of hash and putting them on the regulated market?
No.
Like real bricks with like maybe your car stamped in the middle.
Now that would be cool. That would be cool.
Mm.
I'll think about
The
it.
Monte Carlo brick.
It's hard to find people that produce old school hash.
Yeah.
Something I complain about a lot is
Yeah.
we
But-
just don't have it in our market. It's just not here.
Well, but you have to also be aware that our testing regulations are such that it may be a product that's very difficult to get through passing unless you take it and irradiate it, which doesn't that defeat the purpose of having old school hash? So we have to look at the laws and the regulations and how they're applied.
Because we're way behind other states in the hash market.
Well, and I think that we're a maturing market. It's going to take time for us to get there. Obviously, I came from the Colorado market, and it's taken time to develop.
They have a lot of hash there.
They have a lot of hash there. And my assumption is, as our market begins to mature, that you'll have players that focus on that hash market, because it certainly is a niche market. I think that you and I have smoked old school bubble hash for a very, very long time. It was my preference. I was not a huge believer of hydrocarbon. I was fearful of hydrocarbon. And now, of course, we have live rosin, which there's a couple companies in Michigan right now that are doing a really, really fantastic job producing a high quality product through hash rosin. I'm working with one of them right now, and we're going to see how our organic outdoor product ends up turning out with a live rosin type product. A lot of times live rosin, to be popular in stores, the clarity and the color is very, very important. The question is with outdoor product, if we can get to similar results. I believe that we can. I think that comes down to when it was harvested. If we waited too long and the trichome started to decompose. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that equation, but we'll know here in a few weeks, because we're just sending out our first batches to our solventless processors.
Speaking of hash, you know what my staff bought me for Christmas this year?
Hash?
A hookah.
Very
And
nice.
I mean like the Cadillac of all
Yes.
hookahs.
Yes.
Specifically and only for hash use. Nothing may touch the hookah other than hash.
I will make a deal with you.
Okay.
The deal that I will make is I will bring the high level hoopty over to your house.
Don't forget to bring, what was it called? The shells and the, what did you make us?
I made you
Oh,
Italian
the
stuffed shells with
Italian stuffed shell.
spinach and Italian sausage and ricotta.
Yes.
Bring that.
I will bring that. Your girls clearly loved it.
Yes, they did.
That's the old Italian grandmother in me. I produce that kind of stuff.
They were fed very well.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
you're gonna
Sal
bring-
Agro, my
you're
father,
gonna-
who
so you're-
passed that ability on to me.
So you're gonna bring the Monte Carlo and the hoopty, and I'm gonna have the hash pipe ready to go. Hookah.
And
Hookah.
you have the hookah, and I will bring some high quality live rosin down, and we'll try your hookah out.
All right.
And then once we're no longer inebriated, we can take the high level hoopty for
We
a
should go
ride.
for a ride first.
First then.
We'll go for a ride first, and then we'll smoke. That sounds safer.
I think so.
I like those plans. Shout out to Cash Lovers America.
Right.
Yeah, we love you guys.
So Nick, I want to talk about your awards.
133 and counting. So
oh wow.
we just cleaned house at the THC Cup in Colorado. 13 more awards, and interestingly, only a few of them were for flower. So we've been doing a really bang up job in our lab in Colorado. Shout out to Ian, Chip, whole crew over there in Colorado. Thank you for
Nice.
producing such incredible products for us to be able to talk about. But we cleaned house in Colorado, a lot of concentrate awards, some awards for our King Palm pre-roll, terpene infused, which terpene's coming from our flowers. More awards for probably our most awarded product, which is our Blue Skunk Live Butter.
Okay.
It is our Blue Skunk strain is a very special strain. Anytime we're releasing on the shelves, it's gone. We can't grow enough of that product as we speak, but as I was discussing with Ida, 2022, 23, we're working really hard to build and grow affiliates to be able to grow our genetics under our growing conditions, under our tutelage, to be able to get this similar products, to be able to scale our Blue Skunk butter. We really think that it could be the next Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is that unique, and I know that there's not a tremendous amount of people who have scaled a single product in the marketplace. We feel as if we may have the opportunity with it just as much as it's been awarded. The way that our patients and customers give us feedback on it, we think that we're onto something. We also have a proprietary process that we've worked out to be able to turn it from extraction and out to testing in one day, which is
Incredible. Wow.
incredible. As you guys know, that the testing process in Michigan is very rigorous, and dependent upon what your final product is, it can be time consuming. My experience tells me by the time you get it to the processor, they process it, get it tested, get it back to you in packaging, you're 5 to 6 weeks. So any time you can shave a week off of that process by creating a new process to get it out to testing, it's advantage to you, especially if you're looking to scale it to large production, which is what we're looking to do. Next year, we're looking to put multiple acres of Blue Skunk outdoor. We're looking to affiliate with other growers across the state, get that strain in their source.
Okay.
So we do have a deep enough supply chain to be able to introduce it to multiple markets and across Michigan, and hopefully at some point, if Congress allows, across lines and across the United States to create a single product.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thank you very
really
much.
exciting.
It has not been without hard work, and I got to get shout out to our teams out of Colorado, specifically our new COO overseeing both Colorado and Michigan. Chaz Kobayashi.
Hi.
Chaz, thank you for being such a great team player in our team. We appreciate having you aboard.
Very nice. Very cool. What about this SFV headband? What's
So,
this all about?
So the San Fernando Valley headband, you know, it was a staple of our genetics and breeding stock. It was bred. It has won a tremendous amount of awards as well, starting back probably realistically 7 or 8 years ago. It's been featured in High Times magazine. I want to say it was featured as one of the top 10 highest testing. That was at that point. Clearly, we've had advancements and genetics, and there's stuff that's testing in the nearly 40% range. I know that we had a hit recently. I wanted to say earlier this year, it may have been last year, for almost 39% on one of our strains. I'm sure that's an anomaly, but it's always great to put that on your shelves. As you know, right now, Michigan consumers love to drink the Everclear, so to speak. They want always the highest testing, whatever. They don't care if it tastes good, it looks good, does it test high. I think that as the market begins to mature, a lot of people will adhere to my belief that THC is a poor indicator for quality. It really is. You know, I think that as people get more educated and the consumers become more sophisticated, they're going to start hunting for terpenes. They're going to be looking for myrcene. They're going to be looking for linalool. They're going to look for CBN, CBG. They're going to be looking for all these components of cannabis. Yeah. And so I think THCA.
One of my favorites.
And you know, it's
body buzz.
It's funny. THCA is fantastic. In fact, Isaiah and I have smoked THCA together, and we had a long discussion about the THCA, and I look at it as kind of the vodka of the cannabis community. You know, it's very simple, focused, one note, I would call it. Whereas, you know, when I look at it, butter or something that's loaded up with all kinds of soupy terps, I tend to get much more inebriated with the terpenes.
Butter's like the what? The rum?
I said tequila. I said tequila, right? And the hangover at times can be just as bad, realistically, you know. But it seems to have a lot more character, like a bourbon, you know, and a much more developed broad high. THCA is fantastic if you want to like drive a go-kart or something, right? Or drive the hoopty really fast. But if you want to lay around on your couch and relax and have wonderful thoughts, sometimes it involves those other terpenes like myrcene or linalool to get you to that point. Linalool is one of my favorites. Myrcene is one of my favorites as well. That's why I mention it.
And what about Platinum Valley?
It's interesting because Platinum Valley is actually a San Fernando Valley headband cross.
Really?
It is. So we used knowing that we had so many awards and San Fernando Valley headband had been recognized for its potency. We took it and Chaz, our COO, director of operations at that time, did a lot of breeding projects in his house. And out of that breeding project came Platinum Valley. Not the producer in terms of the quantity of flower, but there's just something that's so unique about it. It's loaded up with L-limonene, but it's got all these peppery, hazy, cedary notes. Everybody I know that smokes it always has really super positive things to say about its effects. It's very invigorating. You would probably love it because it's super invigorating. I think that comes down to the L-limonene in there. As you guys know, L-limonene is a natural solvent as well. It's what you like, the Gooby Gone stuff that you use to clean. That's L-limonene, right? I have my own theories on
that stuff in like the cup holders in the back seat where like the kids spill stuff and it gets sticky, you know?
Oh yeah.
pour this baby gun in. It just
Well,
comes
don't
right
use the
out.
Platinum Valley
I
concentrates
don't
for
use
that.
that kind? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want
Too
to try that. That
expensive,
sounds
isn't
really
it?
good.
It's
That would be
fantastic.
expensive, right?
You know, right now, I think that one of high level health's challenges is being able to produce enough medicine. I think that a lot of the groups are struggling with that. You know, and clearly it costs a tremendous amount of money to build out new production facilities. So, you know, as I mentioned before, we're going out and identifying players that want to affiliate with us to grow our brand and to grow our products. And the easiest and the fastest way for us to get to A to B in that market is to find individuals that will share that. I've been having a tremendous amount of meetings with individual groups that want to be involved in something like that. We have a lot of single individual growers, be it, you know, single class C, class A, class B, that have no throughput, meaning they don't have a dispensary anywhere else. And they're a small enough company that they really don't have the infrastructure to go out there and build a sales team. So, you know, they're finding themselves, even though they're growing very, very high quality
They grow
cannabis,
exclusively for you with your genetics. And
you've got
stock your shelves.
to stock our shelves and be
you
able
do
to
consulting, right?
Well, we would do the consulting because, you know, clearly what we do is it's different than a lot of other people. Most people focus on,
Because you're going to make sure the soil's good first.
most importantly is soil health. We spend a lot of money on our soil. We spend a lot of money on testing our soil, and we put an enormous amount of time in understanding soil science.
Right, because if it's going to make it all the way onto your shelves,
Exactly.
you're going to want to make sure the soil's
And I'm
good.
sure you guys are
You
really,
know,
really.
someone took one of your strains and just botched it.
I've seen it. I said we count on that. I mean, you know, it's hard to protect.
Yeah.
It's hard to protect genetic stock. You know, if you have a nefarious employee, they come take a clipping, get it out the door, root it. Next thing they know, they've got your genetics. But I also come from the food world. As you know, I'm a chef, and I know that I can give 10 people the same ingredients and try to come up with the same product that I'm producing, you know, because it comes down to technique. And I think, you know, call it hippie or whatever. I think some of it comes down to the intent that you put in it as well. We really, really work hard to put in good intent into our products. I think that's part of the magic formula. How do you quantify that? I'm not sure how you quantify that, but I can quantify, you know, awards. And that's why we've always worked at keeping a scorecard by going into contests, because it's a good indicator of where we're at. If we spend a year without receiving any awards, we may want to consider going back to the drawing table and seeing if there's something wrong in our process. We haven't been there yet, you know, and that
speaks volumes.
And that's great. Not that there hasn't been continual improvement, because there is an improvement. There's no one in this industry that has everything 100% right. You know, we work hard to go out and benchmark companies that are doing great jobs. I think you guys know I'm not afraid to talk to anybody in the market about anything. I think that's where the best information is shared.
I was in a meeting like 2 weeks ago, and they were asking me questions about outdoor grow and the rules, and I was like, let me call a guy. Right? So I'm like, Nick, did you have to deal with, I'm in a meeting, did you have to deal with this? He's like, just put him on the phone. I was like, this is great. You know, Nick talked him through it, gave him everything. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that about you.
Well, and
you're very, you know, helpful and team oriented.
I look for the betterment of the industry and the betterment, you know, as a whole. I'm blessed and fortunate to have a really, really, really strong team of individuals that will work for me. But I also take time to understand the processes and what happens with everything. Not that they always let me weigh in on it, because I've got really, really strong growers that spent years growing. But at very least, I understand the process and I understand the intent and the good work that goes into it. So I'm never caught off guard when someone asks me something about our products most time, because I take time to understand them. Not only that, but the perspective of the people that are growing them. I mean, I think that I hate to look at myself as a giant cheerleader for the company, but I take time to go out and talk to employees at every level. It helps me understand the organization better, right? And there are things that your guys that are in the trenches and maybe first level white shirts, as I would refer to them, people that are just getting their feet on the ground. There's observations that they make that can help your operations, and that doesn't always travel through management. Sometimes it's not even spoken to management, but I'm out in the field talking to them, and bing, here's, oh my goodness, I never even thought about that. It gives me the opportunity to go to my management and say, hey, you ever thought about this? And a lot of times I think that growth comes from that knowledge. Being in the restaurant industry for as many years as I was, I'll tell you, I talk to my dishwasher because he's seeing things that I'm never seen. And if you want to fail in a restaurant, I'm going to tell you the number one place that you can mess up is go ahead and don't have a dishwasher. It is the back end of a restaurant. If you don't have clean plates, knives, forks, spoons in that restaurant, you don't have an operation. And I know a lot of people, like, oh, he's a dishwasher. To me, as a chef, for all the years I worked in the industry, and anybody who was in the industry will tell you, that for me is like the second most important job in the kitchen, because if I don't have clean dishes, my business is not going to run well. And no one really wants to do that job. I will tell you, high level health, not so differently. I don't care.
You have really good employees.
Thank you very
much. They're very passionate. And they ask me a lot of questions sometimes, and it's like, they're on it.
Well, we've been blessed in that way that we do have people, passion is the backbone of our business. When I'm identifying people to work for us, I'll take the guy with less knowledge and more passion every day, because I know that when things get difficult, that person who has passion, they're going to spend their extra time doing their own research and bringing stuff to us. I love to see that in an employee and someone working for us, because passion, I can't coach that. Nobody can teach passion. You either have it or you don't. And I think that we've been really good at identifying that in people. It doesn't matter if you've got 5 years of experience or 1 year of experience. When you come into high level health on the Grow team, you're filling pots. And I know that is the dishwashing job of the world, but it's also the test of, do you have humility? Do you see the bigger picture? Are you able to put your ego aside to fill pots, because it is the foundation of growing. And if you do it with a smile and you do it passionately and you're great at what you do and you can interact well with the remainder of the team, you move quickly out of that position, and you get another position. But it is a good test, because no one wants to start. If I was a chef, I would be very, very reluctant to start in the dish pit, because I would think to myself, wait a minute, I paid my dues, right? Right. And a lot of times I think it's the test for our new employees coming in. They'll either typically start in our department. They start filling pots. In our trim packaging department, they're filling containers, and both of those are monotonous, dirty jobs that are not what I would consider.
I feel the same way about my job. If I hadn't grown marijuana, I would have no idea what I was doing right now, right? And that's one thing, as a lobbyist, like, it's pretty handy to know what you're lobbying for.
Well, literally from the ground up.
From the ground up, that's right.
And you can't gain that experience by not doing it. I think that there are competitor lobbyists to you and Lansing that don't have that experience, and in that way they'll never garner the kind of respect that you will, knowing that you actually have had your hands in the dirt. You know how to cultivate plants, you know how to cultivate individuals, you know how to cultivate business and the association. But you have to do that groundwork. It's the price that you pay for taking on the experiences. I started my culinary career in the dish pit, so I know what it's like to be wet from your knees to your chest.
From my garden to was wearing jeans and a pot leaf T-shirt, and I had a bullhorn, and we're protesting, and someone was
I remember you back then.
yeah, I think we should send her inside. What? Why?
Well, and look how we all have grown.
Yeah, a lot.
No pun intended.
I still have all my pot leaf T-shirts, by the way. Now I have a lot more.
Right.
My mom's gonna make a quilt.
Nice.
T-shirt
Oh,
quilt.
that's gonna be so fun.
There's gonna be some high level house.
I was gonna say you got because
I
we've got a
got-
couple high level house
Yeah.
shirts with pot leaves on them.
I pretty much live in high level house shirts at home. I'm gonna be
You
honest.
hear that, guys?
They are the softest shirts of anybody. I mean,
You would be talking about the new era hoodie, of which I have
Yes.
multiples. My
Yes.
wife loves that shirt. Do you have one of the high level health tank tops? It's got the pot leaves and the high
I
level.
don't have the
the
tank top, but I have 2 hoodies. I sleep in those with the hood up.
They're that comfortable.
Yeah, feels so good. And then I have a T-shirt hoodie. That's really
That
cool.
one's very
T-shirt
comfortable
hoodie,
too.
okay.
Very soft, and then I got a couple T-shirts. But
What do you have?
I do not
Ida?
have the tank top.
Note to
I
self:
need
get Ida some high level health
They're comfy.
swags. Lindsay, listening.
do you make like sweatpants?
We have high level health yoga pants, no
Okay.
sweatpants.
Yoga pants will
Your
work.
cancer. Yeah.
Not on me at all.
I mean to sleep in.
Okay.
Like I get so cold,
Yeah.
right? Especially now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like the 5 blankets and the hoodie, and I have a big red fuzzy robe that's I put on as soon as I get home. It's really comfortable.
I'll send you a picture of my wife in her uniform, is what I
The,
call it.
the slipper socks, right?
Slippers, fleece pants,
Yes.
long sleeve shirt with the robe over it.
Wow.
Oh, it's
nice.
hot.
Wow.
It's hot.
I bet. She's
With
warm.
Winter coming, these things are important.
It's very
Yeah.
important. Nick, I love how you explained the importance of team building. Can you talk to us a little bit about your employee mental health?
So yeah, we've had a coach that has worked with us. The irony is, as she's worked with me for years, she worked with me and scaling up another business that I used to operate. She's based out of Colorado. She's in Arizona now. She's been a great friend, advocate, and someone who has consistently helped our operation out. I think that I look more of her as a coach than someone focusing solely on our mental health. We do.
Is she a certified therapist or?
She's a psychologist. She's been doing it for I hate to tell you, but almost 40 years. She's cringing right now. She's done it for a long time.
Well, you want someone experienced, though. You want someone who knows what they're doing and is comfortable in this field because of
Well, and
dealing
I
with
got to tell you, I've seen a tremendous amount of growth in our team being able to offer them those services, primarily because I think that everybody at some point gets stuck in their life or in their thinking.
Yeah.
We are human beings that use our brains, and sometimes our belief system gets in the way. Right. You're believing the wrong things. You're spiraling in the wrong direction. We can the good thing is we can change that thinking a lot of times, which a lot of times will help us change our perception of the remainder of the world. I think what she's done really effectively is she's cleared communication between individuals and our organization.
That's super important.
Well, I can
Yeah.
tell you it's affected our team in a very positive way, because I think sometimes everybody at times builds walls. There's blockages in communication. Things go unsaid and sometimes buried under the rug for too long of a period of time, where there's animosity, anger, anxiety, all these feelings that start to surround individuals and or a subject, and being able to communicate them clearly, get them out on the table and move past them has really assisted us in our communication within our company, specifically over the last year. It's taken some time. My analogy is, we've forged a new blade. We've hardened it, we've sharpened it, and now as we continue to work with her and continue to work with scaling up, which is in essence quarterly, we set goals. We go after those goals. We try to attain those goals. If we don't reach those goals individually, collectively, we move those goals farther forward. She actually helps administrate that portion with Chaz, our director of operations, now COO of our company. Moving on up. Congratulations again. Now it just becomes a regular honing of the blade. I think that we've done a really incredible job at being able to offer that resource to our staff.
I think that's really important because the cannabis industry is incredibly stressful.
It is. I think a lot of people would make the assumption
it's not fun.
that you
This
just
is not fun.
Yes.
It is work.
that you put
It is work,
a seed in
right?
the ground and like it starts to spit out cash.
No,
And there's
no.
there's all the hard work that goes in between it, and in a market that is ever changing. I mean, in the cannabis industry, I mean, think about all the changes that we've seen in the last year, the last 5 years. I liken it to dancing on quicksand. It moves fast. You better move your feet fast with it, or else you're going to be lost behind, or you're gonna drown in the sand.
So the level of scrutiny that these businesses are under and the industry is under, and the tension, I'm sure, at work and like regulatory emergencies,
It's constant.
it's like the business is on the verge of failing, every 3 months if we don't get this figured out. I mean, and it's new, right? So I think it's really important, especially in our industry. People can crack. People can crack.
How many times have you seen it? I mean, you probably get to see it much more than
I do.
than I do.
And I think, breaking that stigma that it's okay to get therapy or talk to somebody, like it's really important to maintain your mental health.
Mental health in a very, very stressful industry,
Yeah.
one that is ever
Yeah.
changing. I couldn't agree with you more. Just the ability to have somebody help you reflect on the issues that you have. Sometimes, talking about it, having someone understand it. I got to tell you, it's interesting because I've built some really strong friendships in the MiCIA with individuals that are good operators. And you would think that we were a couple chatty high school girls at points when we're telling each other, our issues within our business.
Yep.
But it's very hard to find somebody in the industry that you can trust and you're able to share those issues with. It's very hard, because this industry is fraught with sometimes suspect characters. Sometimes there have been people that have been less than outstanding that have found their way into the industry, and I think that a lot of times also people's egos get in the way of letting them communicate clearly and or share what they consider to be secrets. I think
it's hard to be vulnerable.
for anybody,
Yeah.
for anybody,
Mhm.
right? Let alone a CEO of a $40 million cannabis company. He's wanting to always put on the facade that everything is great, whether it be to his employees or his competitors. But realistically, I've spoken to those kinds of individuals, and they have the same problems that the smaller guys do that are doing $2 million a year. In fact, I would say that it's amplified because now he has an ego to manage. And he has limited himself to the number of people that he can expose himself to realistically. So someone like that, they need a coach. They need a mental health professional to be able to just unload the issues that they're dealing with. I'm sure that any cannabis business owner that's watching this is shaking their head right now, like, yeah, he's right. You know what? It's hard to be able to share with.
One of our members gave me a card this year. And the card said, "It's okay to not be okay. And I looked at, I think it was like Winnie the Pooh, right? And I looked at it and I was like, what do you mean it's what? You know, and it didn't hit me at first. I kind of just like put it aside and was like, okay, that's awkward, right? But then I was kind of like, oh, you're right. I'm always like, everything's great, you know, like, and we do that to you know, power through and, you know, get through the job and through all the problems. And, you know, you hold it inside until you're like ready to blow, you know?
Right.
And so that kudos to you for making sure that everybody's got resources that they need.
You know, I think that's important for me. I think anybody that's part of our team would say the same thing.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
Ida does Reiki.
I do.
Is the table in your car?
I do.
She has this table. I mean, Ida is like one
Who's
of
Reiki?
No, Ida.
But thank you very much.
Oh, boy. Okay, so Ida is one of the best Reiki masters I've ever. I mean, and I've been through a lot, right?
I need some Reiki work done.
No, you don't like. It's a whole next level experience. It's different, but it's very positive.
That's excellent. I've never had Reiki done.
Okay.
I've had a lot of deep tissue massage.
We'll schedule an appointment.
We'll schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
Do I have to fast or anything before I
No,
come?
you're just gonna lay there and you'll probably fall asleep.
That's before ayahuasca.
I will help you with that as well.
No, we're just joking.
So we're going to Detroit, is what you're saying. By the way, yeah, Detroit decriminalized psychedelics yesterday. If anybody isn't aware.
Last night at about 10 p.m., everyone ran out on their porches. They've in their bags of mushrooms. They were like, finally, we can talk openly about this. Right? No, I did. I heard there was, you know.
There should be a celebration. in the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in Ann Arbor when they decriminalized. And,
For Washington
there was a
County.
celebration.
Yeah.
There was like mushroom cakes and.
I think that.
But what city do you think will be next? Lansing.
It's got to be
It's gonna
Lansing.
be Lansing.
Come on, Lansing.
We're gonna go state by
Yeah.
state
Flint.
or city by city.
City by city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
And then it'll go on the entire statewide ballot.
Yeah.
And then we'll be selling it through the legal marijuana chains, regulated market. I don't know.
I don't know. Where will this go? It's
I'm
really interesting.
I'm prophesying the future. Guys, mark the date and time.
I know I've had a few people like approach me about doing the ballot, and I'm like, no, I'm not ever doing another ballot initiative
That would
again.
almost kill you.
I know, it was
You
You
exhausting.
could consult on it.
I'll consult on it.
There you go.
There you
I'm
go.
not doing the hard work.
That's it.
You find somebody to do the
I
hard
didn't
work.
see- I didn't see my kids for 2
You have
years.
filled enough pots, Robin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've filled enough pots.
What else?
We want to talk about the Purple Heart, this new strain that you have.
So we didn't develop
Okay.
Purple Heart. Purple Heart was developed by a breeder called Aficionado. Really well known breeder. They didn't sell that strain stock. It was a giveaway, and it was a giveaway only to people who were military Purple Heart recipients, of which we were fortunate enough to have one on our team that
I
was
love that.
super passionate about cannabis. Shout out to John Mooney, Mount Morris Township. Thank you very much. John had open heart surgery recently. Took some time off, but he's back to working for us. So the Purple Heart strain is a strain that was developed. Of course, we tied it to the Purple Heart recipients. It's important for everybody in our community to be good stewards for the cannabis community and give back. We chose to give back. We released that strain. 100% of the profits were donated to the Purple Hearts Association, and I couldn't be more proud to be able to do that. I think that's the right thing to do. And cannabis industry individuals listening, we need to find more ways to do that so we can integrate into our communities and people can understand that this medicine is far-reaching and helps out a myriad of individuals. I will share with you a story. I belong to a congregation, and for a long time, my church congregation was unaware of the work that I did. I stayed relatively in the shadows for a long period of time, for multiple years. I was asked as a chef to help out for a event for the 60th birthday party of our pastor of our congregation. And I put out an incredible spread of which these guys have not seen in any other place than fine dining restaurants, which opened up a lot of dialogue that I didn't anticipate. Like, where do you work?
Okay. Which makes sense.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do you work? We want to visit your restaurant.
Yeah.
I will remind you that I am with 100 church-going individuals, and even though I could have found an out, I became real honest, saying I no longer cook professionally. I'm helping the church out. But I grow and process and sell cannabis in the regulated market. Needle scratch, lots of turning heads. My fear was that I would be judged for being some kind of nefarious character. This comes back to beliefs. That's what I believed. However, what I found was, once the people in the congregation found out that I was in the industry, I started being peppered with questions. And how can it help me? How can it help my grandmother? My father-in-law has Parkinson's. Do you think it would help? I became a resource for them. And strangely enough, I have probably helped out in our congregation, probably 6 to 10% of that congregation find themselves cannabis gummies, something to be able to help them out, help their wife out, help their grandfather out with a tremendous amount of success. And I'm very proud to have expanded their horizons and their beliefs, because a majority of them have come back now and begun to give testimonials to other people that are in the congregation when they ask the questions on, can it help? And for me, that's life-changing. Where I was fearful of being judged by being in the cannabis world, which I think a lot of times, a lot of us have lived in that space for too long, to be able to come out of that and turn that into a positive, and see now that people seek out my professionalism and my advice and my help. It was a game changer for me. It really, really was, to the point where my pastor has talked to me, not about using cannabis, but, his father died of Parkinson in a tremendous amount of pain. And at that point, he said, I wish that my father would have had access to this, because I think he would have lived longer and lived a better quality of life.
I've had the same experience. I definitely classify myself as a God-fearing woman, and definitely, I do a lot of praying, and I had the same experience. People who I thought were going to be, judgy were like, I need your help, I need advice, and I was like, oh, well, I actually walked into a hospice and given a friend who was a law enforcement officer Rick Simpson oil in front of 4 other cops were in the room. I was praying on my way in there. I was like, please, God, don't let this be a setup, but I am going to deliver this. He got up and walked out of there, by the way. Yeah. So, I mean,
if we're going to normalize it,
break down those stigmas.
You have to break down those stigmas. And you know what? As advocates, as people in the industry, it's time to stop looking over your shoulder and start looking out on the horizon to find those people that need the help, because they're becoming the next set of advocates that help us break down the walls. I would never have thought that people within my congregation would be standing by my side, asking for my help and pushing it farther into the community to be the helpful drug that it is. and I'm glad that you've had a similar experience. That means that people are starting to understand what it is, and the stigma is going away. You know that my mother uses cannabis very effectively and has for quite some time.
Hi, Barb. I love you, Barb.
Shout out to Barb.
Barb's the best.
So, we need more people like that, and that momentum has grown stronger and stronger and stronger every year that I've been in the industry, and it gives me hope that it will be widely accepted. In fact, I would say right now, more and more, I'm no longer fearful to tell people what I do. In fact, I think people respect that, and I think that it's become a position that people are like, oh, that's great, and everybody knows somebody who's growing cannabis.
I think this is the longest Cannacast we've ever done. I'm just kidding.
Goodness gracious!
But it is.
Tomorrow we are hosting our friends here for Lobby Day.
Yes, we are.
So shout out to everybody. I don't have the list of people. There's so many organizations coming now.
Goodness.
But it's Americans for Safe Access, Michigan Normal, Force Detroit, and
all you grassroots groups.
Smoke, and all of them. And we are very, very, very excited to see our coalition partners and friends here tomorrow. We're going to have breakfast for you. And I know that Normal and Americans for Safe Access did an incredible job of scheduling everybody appointments. They did. I have like 10 meetings just myself tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Back to back. So I'm just going to be running. Yeah. So it'll be fun. But, we've maintained a long relationship with the advocacy org, even though we're industry. We've maintained a long standing relation, and I think that's a really important and I think Nick shares that.
Yes.
The importance of that relationship. In fact, Nick has hosted Halloween parties for the Northeast Normal chapter.
Yes.
Right. And why do you work to maintain those relationships, Nick?
Well, because I was a caregiver, and I think you guys know my story. I found myself in the legal system for something that was
complete bullshit.
Complete bullshit.
I was going to say.
Yeah. We had a local ordinance that supported it, and a certificate of occupancy, and fortunately for us, I was able to move past that and come back into this legal regulated market. But I think a lot of us that are the best advocates for the industry started off as caregivers and know what it's like to be a caregiver. I know that a lot of people are concerned about the caregivers losing their rights. I don't see that ever happening to true caregivers. I think that, what a lot of the organizations are pushing for is to find a way to curb the illicit market in Michigan, so Michigan doesn't become a California type situation. I think that is the reoccurring theme that I hear from all the operators. A majority of the good operators in Michigan started off as caregivers. I don't think that they would ever be willing to snatch those rights away from caregivers that are taking care of true patients.
Mm-hmm.
It's the individuals that are hiding behind it, that are running illicit multi-million-dollar grows that the industry is looking to eliminate.
So
we will see everyone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes. Here from 9 to 3 at our offices.
Awesome.
We're the headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. So next week, Louie.
By the way,
the
proposed bills don't take care of illicit activity at all.
No.
Well, that's problematic.
They don't do anything about that.
That's problematic.
So, yeah.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me. It's
Thank
always
you,
a pleasure.
Nick.
Thank
It's
you.
always so good. My favorite board member.
Keep your
Oh,
hands
I didn't mean that. I just
She said her least favorite board
my
member.
least favorite board.
There's 13 of them.
I love you all equally.
She does.
High Level Health.
High Level Health.
Where can they come to visit you at?
Currently, they can visit us in Tawas, Omer, Vassar, with our Bay City location here slated to open in the next few days to few
Nice.
weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, check Nick out at High Level Health.
Thank you guys very much.
Next week, we will be interviewing Luann Sun from a microbrewery.
Micro business.
Micro business.
I wonder if we'll ever
Yes.
have like micro business / breweries.
I know. Wouldn't that be fun?
We're gonna have to take it up with the guys across the hall.
That would be so fun. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope you all have a great week.
Thank
See
you.
next time.